Stephen Miller rejects claim grandmother died of COVID. Stephen Miller, a top advisor to President Donald Trump, is insisting his grandmother did not die of the coronavirus, despite a death certificate that states otherwise. Family disappeared near Hamburg, Germany, in July 2015. Father is later found dead. Mother and daughter are still missing. Overview. In July 2015, a family of three, father, mother and 12-year-old daughter, disappeared from a village near Hamburg, Germany. The father was later found dead. The police believe he died by suicide. Mother and daughter are missing till this day. The overall circumstances can be described as unclear and strange. Background. The family consisted of the father Marco Schultz, 1974, mother Sylvia Schultz, 1972, and their daughter Miriam, 2003. Sylvia also had an adult daughter out of a first marriage that was not living together with the three. The family lived in a house in Drage, a suburb of the city of Hamburg with 4,000 inhabitants at the River Elbe. The father worked in a chemical factory and had 2 additional jobs as a truck driver and farmhand at a horse ranch. The mother worked as deputy manager at a grocery store. Both were described as reliable, helpful and caring. Disappearance. On July 22, 2015, the last day before the summer holidays, the daughter Miriam was reported ill at the school by her parents. She also did not attend to an appointment at a physician at the same day. Her father Marco had a free day and was therefore at home to care for the ill daughter. Her mother Sylvia went to work normally. At around 13:45 she received a SMS by Marco that Miriam was feeling worse and requested that she come home as soon as possible. She left work at 16:20 and arrived home at 16:50, reconstructed from mobile data. That was the last time she was seen. In the evening Marco received a call from the horse ranch if he could help out on short notice on the next day. But he was hesitant to agree. From the sources it is not clear for me if he finally agreed or not. Nonetheless, he was seen working at the horse ranch on the same evening at around 19:30. He was also seen while he brought out garbage on that evening. There is also a report that he was seen on the morning of the next day, July 23, driving with the car of his wife in a neighboring village. Those are the last times he was seen alive. On July 24, colleagues of Sylvia reported her missing after she was missing from work for the second day. After the police found out that also Marco did not appear to work on 24th, they opened the house. The police found no trace of the three people. The windows of the house were partially open, both cars were parked in the garage, the 2 cats of the family, wallets and papers of all 3 missing were found in the house. There were no evidence of a fight or struggle. Further investigation showed that a stuffed animal of the daughter and a green bicycle, which was later found at a train station several villages away, were missing from the house. The cell phones were last logged into the net during afternoon/evening of July 22. Investigation. An extensive search did not reveal any traces of the missing. On July 31 the body of Marco was found in the River Elbe around 25 kilometers upstream near a bridge. Further investigation found that his body and a bicycle were bound to a concrete block at the bottom of the river. Medical investigation ruled that he probably died in the night between 23rd and 24th. His death was ruled as a suicide by the police. That led to the suspicion that Marco killed his wife and daughter and then killed himself. To a report of the adult daughter of Sylvia, Marco lost his driver's license and therefore his second job as a truck driver because driving under influence several days before he had gone missing. There were also rumors that Sylvia wanted to leave her husband. But the police stated that they found no evidence of family, financial or work-related problems and does not believe that Sylvia wanted to leave Marco. To make things stranger, there was a statement of the police that they have reason to believe that the last day before the disappearance was different from usual and that there was something that depressed the family and that there might have been an unsurmountable conflict. But they never disclosed what that might have been. Around 4 weeks after the disappearance, an eyewitness came up that she had seen the family around 1800 hours at the day of the disappearance at a pond in a city 50 kilometers from their hometown. She also claimed to have heard a dispute and screams. Search dogs could, even after weeks, find a scent of all 3 family members at the pond, but they did not lead to anything. It is unlikely that Sylvia and Miriam were killed at this pond for several reasons. According to the time frame of several sightings, Marco would have had less than 30 minutes to kill both women and dispose of their corpses in a way that they were never found. Also, the pond was highly frequented by joggers and it seems almost impossible to kill 2 persons without any witnesses. Theory. The theory of the police is that Marco killed his wife and daughter and killed himself. So, they are not sure how or why. As indicated above, the police seems to have an idea about a motive but never disclosed it. In Germany, dead persons cannot be prosecuted, therefore no case of murder was ever brought before a judge. The case will stay open till either the missing are found or will be declared dead, which can happen earliest in 2031, as persons gone missing as children can only be declared dead after their 28th birthday. While I agree with the police that a murder by the father is the most likely reason for the disappearance, it is still a strange case. From the information, it seems there was no prior reason for a murder/suicide crime. Only that strange statement from the police hints at a suddenly arising motive. That would speak for an unplanned crime of passion. But this does not really line up, that there are no traces of any kind, hints that this would have to be well planned. Also, the different times, places and statements from witnesses seem not to add up really well, especially when you consider that both cars were found at the home, and so the distances probably should have been covered by Marco with the bicycles he was found with. 1968 Huntington Beach Jane Doe identified as Anita Louise Pito. Her killer has also been identified. Colleen Fitzpatrick was contacted after detectives were able to pull DNA from Anita's clothing. She built up Anita's family tree through matches with distant relatives. She contacted a distant cousin of Anita's. The cousin sent Colleen an obituary for a woman named Connie Saucier, who turned out to be Anita's sister. In the obituary, it mentioned, Connie was predeceased by her parents, her sister Teresa Pito Gallagher, her brother Robert Pito and her sister Anita Pito, missing since 1970. Anita had ran away from her home in Maine as a teenager. Her family had always hoped that she was still alive somewhere and for some reason did not want to contact them. Sadly, her parents and several siblings passed away before they could learn what happened to her. Cynthia Bulmer was 40 years old when she disappeared from the town of Lockport in New York 21 years ago. The last two individuals seen with her are now deceased, and with her body never having been found, the hope of finding out what happened to her appears to only be becoming more slim over time. Disappearance. Cynthia, Cindy, D. Bulmer was 40 years old when she went missing from Lockport, New York on March 26, 1998. Cindy was seen having drinks at the Redmond Club in her hometown of Lockport during the evening hours of March 26, where she had written her name in the club's sign and book. Afterwards, Cindy went to Kenzie's restaurant on Main Street in Lockport, where she was seen with two African-American males. At around 10:30 p.m., Cindy was seen leaving the Kenzie's being followed by these two males. It's unclear if they were following her without her knowledge or she left with them willingly. Cindy lived in an apartment at 186 Ontario Street, about 5 blocks from the restaurant. It's said she never returned to her residence. Cindy was not reported missing until almost 2 weeks later, when her father found it odd that she is not known up at certain places where she normally would, or failed to call her family over the 2-week time frame. The identities of both males she was last seen with are known to police. One of the men was described as her sometime boyfriend, who was murdered sometime after 1998. The other man passed away in prison in 2011. Both men were said to have been involved in the local drug scene, as well as Cindy. Along with her drug use, it's also reported that Cindy was involved in prostitution. This lifestyle Cindy was described to have had comes from multiple eyewitness accounts in the local area. The Lockport police have stated in 2015 that there is no evidence linking her to those activities. I have also read the opposite though. In the early years after her disappearance, investigators claim they believe this lifestyle may have contributed to her disappearance. Suspects. One suspect that has been considered in her case is James McPhail, a former Lockport man who was convicted of killing Robin Dye Coleman after a DNA sample connected him to the crime in 2001. Robin's body was dumped near some railroad tracks in the town of Lockport on December 8, 1996, only to be found by two teenagers. There was a dig behind a 4-apartment home on Green Street across from the railroad tracks in 2007 based on a tip by a man currently in prison. The results were negative. Another suspect in her case is Altemio Sanchez, also known as the bike path rapist. Altemio Sanchez is suspected of the rape and murder of at least 3 women, and the rape of at least 9 to 15 girls and women in the area around Buffalo, New York. His crimes spanned over 31 years, from 1975 to 2006. Though Sanchez was only convicted of 3 counts of murder and rape, it's believed he has many more victims that have yet to be proven or identified. The locations of his convicted and believed crimes are in towns about 30 minutes away from Lockport, New York. When looking up the directions for how Cindy may have walked home from the Kenzie's restaurant to her apartment at 186 Ontario Street, I didn't see any secluded trails or bike paths, but one route could have taken her over a small road bridge over the Erie Canal. Reading into Sanchez's file, He was arrested 2 times in 1991 and 1999 for soliciting prostitution. There is no evidence linking him to Cindy's disappearance, though her body was never been found, so there are many unknowns. I also found information on her case in a website dedicated to identifying victims of the Long Island serial killer. The Long Island serial killer, also referred to as Lisk, the Gilgo Beach Killer or the Craigslist Ripper, is an unidentified suspected serial killer who is believed to have murdered 10 to 16 people over a period of nearly 20 years, mostly prostitutes, and left their bodies in areas on the South Shore of Long Island, New York. There's no information or indication that there is any connection between Cindy's disappearance and Lisk. Without a body, connecting either MacPhail or Sanchez, or any other person, to a crime against her is very hard at this point in time. Cindy's DNA has been entered into VICAP, a national database, in the event that her body is ever found. I could not find anywhere that stated if the 2 men she was last seen with were ever ruled out as having any involvement, though I believe that being the last 2 seen with her they were looked at heavily. I do not know how intense the search and investigation for Cindy was at the time. I am wondering if her reported lifestyle of drugs and prostitution in any way hindered the search for her. Cindy was also not reported missing for almost 2 weeks after she was last seen, so the investigation began with a late start. Cindy's father, Roger, reportedly remained optimistic that she would be found alive, whereas police believed she was the victim of foul play and is deceased. Roger sadly passed away in 2011, and in his obituary states that he was predeceased by his daughter, Cynthia Bulmer. Before his passing, Roger was interviewed and remembered his daughter as a dancer and skater, and who adored dogs, including her dog Gizmo. A $27,000 reward for information on Cindy's whereabouts has been put up by her father, siblings, and the UAW/C.I.O. If alive today, Cynthia Bulmer would be 63 years old, being born on April 4, 1957. Cynthia is a white female, and at the time of her disappearance, she was 5'9" 5'11" and 110 pounds. She has black/brown hair, and blue/green eyes. She has a tattoo of a ladybug on her ankle and a tattoo of the name Jimbo on her buttocks. Cynthia was last seen wearing dungarees, also called overalls.